right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we're live from downtown cinemas. We just recorded this one last night at the movie theater right after the screening of M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. And this was a really fun one to get into. Joining me on the show, we've got Kevin Martin, Luella Chavez, and Dustin Ross. We get into a great conversation, lots of puzzle pieces to get into with this one, some great crowd participation, really fun night out there at downtown cinemas. And I'm sure we'll be announcing another show with them very soon. But for now, we're going to get into this conversation about Trap. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. We've got a lot of episodes on the way. We got some special stuff coming. If you've been checking out my socials, by the way, at Piecing Pod, you know about some of that stuff. But lots of episodes on the way, lots of great stuff. So check us out on all of the various podcast apps, wherever you're listening right now. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll get all of the episodes as they come, and follow the socials and check out our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Now let's get into Trap. All right, so I'm David Rosen, the host of the Piecing It Together podcast. We're going to talk about the movie we just watched. But before we get to it, I do want to introduce my guests. So let's start with Kevin right here. Kevin, introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Kale Martin, filmmaker, screenwriter, and analog photographer based here in Las Vegas.
Right on, right on. Happy to have Kevin back on the show. Luella, introduce yourself.
My name's Luella Chavez. I'm an actress, comedian, writer, movie lover. And I've been on the podcast before a few times.
Absolutely, absolutely. And first time on the podcast, Dustin Ross. Happy to have you here. Dustin, introduce yourself.
Hey, happy to be here. Dustin Ross. Just getting started in Vegas as a filmmaker and also a musician, and just having a lot of fun.
Right on, right on. So I'm excited to talk about this one. I've been a fan of what M. Night Shyamalan is doing lately with his last few films. I mean, we all know him as obviously the twist guy who made some incredible movies at the end of the 90s and into the early 2000s, but he's not really doing that anymore. And I think that that's going to be kind of like an entry point to talking about this movie, talking about what he's up to, because he's definitely in like a totally different mode now.
For sure.
I think getting into this movie, I'd like to, before we start into the puzzle pieces, which is the main thing, I'd like to hear from each of you briefly how you feel about like recent M. Night Shyamalan. Let's start with you, Kevin.
So it's very hard, going to the beginning of what you said, to get that out of your head.
Right,
He is
right.
the twist guy. I think I heard someone, I was walking in, and they said it got to a point where you're so used to the twists that every time something happened where, like, for example, there was a limousine that stopped in the middle of a crowd of people, you were like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
So the anxiety he built over an entire career is now driving people to go, okay, what is next?
Yeah.
And that next really never came. It was really kind of as straightforward as you would expect from M. Night.
It is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so it's like, but it's weird. So it's like he's built his entire career off of doing that, and now the expectation is I'm not supposed to see that. I enjoy that, but it's still in my head. He's like programmed me over 20, 30 years to look for that twist. So it was interesting. It's nice to see him do something straight up. I think so.
I think so too. I think
it's a good thing.
Luella, how about you?
I kind of had the same feeling. I don't know that I was anticipating any sort of twist, but it's, I feel like it's kind of what we used to think of when we used to watch old indie movies, where it was just kind of like a snapshot. Like there wasn't really anywhere where it was going. It was just kind of showing you or capturing kind of like a sneak peek of or a window.
Yeah,
of,
I can see that. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Especially the first hour. The first hour is like, let's shoot at a concert and see like what kind of tension we can do there
in a contained area.
Yeah. And that'll, I think, factor into a bunch of puzzle pieces.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Yeah, but then it just switches gears completely. So and then becomes something else. But definitely that first hour for sure. Dustin, what about you?
Well, I have a really bad habit of holding my favorite artists against my favorite of their works. And I'm trying to get through that. I'm trying to enjoy each piece as it is as a standalone piece.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that speaking to what Kevin said about it, how straightforward it was, but you're still anticipating that. I think in this one in particular, he kind of, even though it was straightforward, he almost leaned into that. Like he kept leading you, like, is there going to be a twist? Is there going to be a twist? Psych, it's just straightforward. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, he's using his body of work to his advantage there.
I love in the beginning too. I almost felt like he was playing with the fact that we have all seen the trailer going into this, and we know the cops are there, but he doesn't, you know. And we're seeing him figure out what we, the audience, knew going in already. But with that said, I want to get into the puzzle pieces. And for anyone who is here who has not listened to Piecing It Together before, we talk about the movie through the lens of what other movies might have inspired it. We call those other movies that are possible influences puzzle pieces. And I feel like the one we got to kick this off with, because it's just an absolute juggernaut, even though it's not a traditional movie, is Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, which is the biggest concert film ever, basically. It came out last year towards the end of the whole Eras Tour thing, and which is the most successful tour basically ever. Whether you're a Taylor Swift fan or not, this concert film is kind of the ultimate concert film experience, and they put it in movie theaters. It just blew box office, expectations. Well, I think everybody expected it to blow up, but it's so ingrained in the culture. I think there's like newspapers who have positions just to report on what's going on with Taylor Swift.
They have
like
beat writers for almost every major publication that just follow Taylor Swift.
So this is the moment to make a movie set in a concert like this, and M. Night Shyamalan just jumped on that.
I mean, honestly, I was actually impressed with, we've all heard movie music from, people in terms of like soundtracks and the cost of doing so, but it was actually impressive. A lot of that original music and this the portrayal of what or how important a pop star is in the lexicon of like what people think and how easily that is distracting. I mean, they could have set off anything in that place, and I don't think people moved because Lady Raven was there, and they really it was kind of an amalgamation of all of the popular pop stars that kind of run the world, and I think they kind of leaned into the importance of, wow, you can do a lot if you distract people with something shiny with talent, and he can make these bold suggestions he makes through these movies to get out of the situation, and instead of it being, wow, that's really, really weird, oh, Dad, chill out. It was really funny because it's true. I mean, I know a bunch of Swifties. Heck, I'm a bit of a Swiftie, so I respect and love what she does, and there's a lot of power to that, and it shows.
Yeah, Luella, you post a lot of videos of dancing and singing and doing comedic versions of stuff. What do you think of Lady Raven and this as a concert film?
She reminded me of Maya. She looked like her. She looked so much like her. I couldn't not see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm like trying to think of all the Maya songs I know to talk about it, because I'm like, I don't know who's listening or what age group I'm speaking to, but that was like, that's who I saw.
Midway through, I thought Casey the X was gonna
I
was like, wow, it's almost uncanny how much she looked like Maya.
How about you, Dustin? Are you a Swiftie over there?
I'm not, but I respect what she's doing, definitely. I'm not huge into that music scene.
Sure.
But definitely, I mean, she's an icon. Everyone knows who Taylor Swift is, and she's definitely using that to her advantage.
Yeah, and M. Night is using that to his advantage for crafting a new film that's unique and different from anything he's really done before. But let's start going on to some other puzzle pieces. Let's start with you, Kevin. What do you got?
So I immediately, if I go outside of what his body of work is, I immediately thought of the talented Mr. Ripley.
Okay.
I love that movie. That is probably easily top 10, top 15. Part of the reason I became a filmmaker is those type of movies and how they pan out. It's just how Josh Hartnett, which, by the way, as goofy as the character could have been and should have been, and how crazy it is, Josh Hartnett really killed it. Shout out to Alison as well. She was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But it just felt like when there's a line he says, how important it was to keep this life separate. And, you would assume someone who's committing these crimes wants to, but you felt the way he was like, these can't touch. like it sounded like a kid who has, broccoli on one plate and then his spaghetti on the other, and he doesn't want those things to mix. And he was dead set, which kind of plays into the whole mother thing. So honestly, I feel like his ability to kind of switch back and forth and understand the importance of having that separation and being able to put on a new face. This is not him, but it is him. It really reminds me of the talented Mr. Ripley and feeling like how he was like, I'm faking being normal.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it for the purpose of me getting to what I want. And I feel like those similarities were striking throughout most of the film.
Absolutely. I think a lot of psychopaths are going to come up along the way here. But Luella, what do you got first?
Yeah. So my first puzzle piece, I feel like I'm going to have a couple of really random ones, which is why I think he brings me here.
I do.
My first one is going to be music and lyrics with Drew Barrymore
Nice.
and Hugh Grant. And it's because of the songs that she was singing. Like, it's I don't know if it's a trope, but like the whole pop star thing, like with the dancing and the rhythmic sounds and stuff, and then the teenage girls in the audience, and it gave me the vibes from that movie when they're in the concert.
Yeah.
It's almost hypnotic, honestly, if you think about it. Like, if you see the work that they put into it,
Yeah.
and then you see what it does to people, it's like, it means so much. Those songs, those lyrics, they're simple, but they hit.
Yeah.
Those movements, simple, but they hit.
And Music and Lyrics is a movie that really captures that so well. And I mean, the pop phenomenon is a thing that it's very specific. And if you don't do it right, it shows. And I think, the fact that Saleka, I think that's how you pronounce her name, it's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, the singer in the movie Lady Raven. The fact that she's actually a singer, I think kind of, helps to kind of sell the whole thing and actually put it together. But great one.
Also the way she was speaking to the fans.
Yes.
The way she was speaking to the fans.
She had the
similar to
TikTok
way it
thing
was.
down.
Yeah. Well, no, when she was on stage and
that
she's like,
too, yeah.
I want to bring up this person, or I want to do this, and this is speaking to my soul, and the way they she does that in the other movie as well. Like the way she's just.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin, let's go to one over there.
I have the first couple. I'll just say like a real quick visual connection. We all know, I think most of us know, M. Night is a huge fan of Hitchcock.
Sure.
The lead analyst woman, Dr. Grant, she wears her hair in the same spiral as the main character Madeline from Vertigo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There were some birds on the screens during the performance that actually looked like they might have been taken from the birds.
Yeah, which fits in with Lady Raven.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just start there. Just the Hitchcock visual references.
Yeah, absolutely. Those references, I think, are 100% on point and on purpose. I think he has kind of done that throughout his career with Hitchcock references. So
definitely very calculated.
Yeah, definitely. And this at first would seem like a weird movie to try to squeeze that into because of the whole pop concert thing, but he manages to do it for sure. So, you know what? I might as well get my crazy person out of the way. I'm going to go with Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie, specifically for casting a heartthrob as a psychopath. I mean, this is kind of the cutest movie ever where somebody gets third-degree burns from a grease fire. Like, it's incredibly dark when you think about it, but at the same time, he is just so charming and fun to watch, and we all loved Josh Hartnett when we were younger, and especially the female audience here. And, bringing him into this, I think he's just a great person to include. And I remember when this, Extremely Wicked came out, people were a little mad about the casting of Zac Efron. Like, why are we going to kind of celebrate almost a serial killer by making him so sexy, so it was like a weird thing. And I think that this kind of leans into that in a way.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think anyone who casts who does that, they know exactly what they're doing clearly. And truthfully, I'll be the first person when I saw Zac Efron, I was like, there's no way he's going to pull this off, because we all know my memory of him is High School Musical, and I'm like, him trying to make that jump, which is incredibly hard for someone who, goes from Disney to whatever, but there's a thin line between Disney and psychopath in its own way. But for him to make that jump, and I was like, oh wow, that's really good. And then you see how he's expanded thus far. So it works because it's a face they recognize, and you'd be surprised how many people turn a blind eye to something cute when it might be something dangerous all the time.
No, I'm sure. What about you guys? Are either of you fans of that movie or of Zac Efron in general?
I actually didn't watch it, and I really like Zac Efron, and I'm really into serial killers. But Ted Bundy, I think they everybody always says he was so good looking, and I don't see it.
Right.
Like, I remember when they had a movie in the 80s and Mark Hamill played him.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my aunt even saying, like, he was way too good looking to play him. He was not even that good looking. But to speak to the whole aesthetics portion and a little bit of the acting as well, I was totally getting, like, it was funny because obviously a little American Psycho / DILF. But then I kept wondering why I kept feeling a little Anthony Perkins.
Sure.
Which didn't come up until the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that goes right back to all of his being M. Night Shyamalan's like big influences. So I think you have to include Psycho in a lot of his films, but definitely in the end, they lay it on real thick.
Yeah.
With all that stuff. So Kevin, let's go to another one from you.
So I'll say in the 90s, I will say Copycat with Harry Connick Jr. And I think it's Holly Hunter. Mostly because it goes into what we were talking about. So everyone loved or still loves Harry Connick Jr. Like he was on every talk show. He was a good-looking man who was is a musician and very, very talented. And he had a range that people did not expect because, most people get kind of put in that box when they get in. Like how you got in as a musician, and then once you go outside of that, people are like, kind of shock and awe, which plays into the success of you going that way. And then going back to Alison Pill, big fan of Alison Pill. Like, what was it? Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
Pill, like love her. And she was fantastic. And she really reminded me of parts of another puzzle piece I'll probably talk about, but Holly Hunter and all of the female leads in there where there's a vulnerability, but it's more of a, I got you. You know what I mean? Like she plays it well, and she thought this out, and she put a lot of work into it. And you're like, wow, like I didn't expect her to even survive to this point because it's a straight up M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Sure.
There's a twist somewhere, but she did her part. She carried the weight, especially in that scene with her and Josh Hartnett. There was a lot of good acting in there. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. They had to really sell that tone shift and everything with all that. So, let's go over to Dustin since Luella threw that other one in there.
I don't know if I was supposed to do this, but I did a little bit of research before I came.
That's all right.
So he was inspired by Operation Flagship, which is a very real thing that happened.
Sure, yeah.
Where in 1985, the U.S. Marshals and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department used a sting operation to arrest over 100 fugitives at a stadium by offering them free NFL tickets. This really happened. I think that is hilarious.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yep.
Absolutely wild. And it's crazy. I don't think a movie has been made based off that before.
There have been parts. I think they've
probably
touched on
it
a little bit, but nothing like truly about it. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, some people would rather mill as many ideas out of it, but the idea as a whole is kind of crazy to see. It's almost darkly comic.
Right. I think it's pretty dope that it worked out. Like whoever thought of that.
Yeah.
On the law side.
Genius. Give him a promotion or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so this movie, as much as it's, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie and a great little thriller in itself, it's also a showcase for his daughter, who, like we said, is a singer. And I was thinking of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker to build an entire film around the songs of an artist, basically. And it's performance, it's story, it's, very kind of pulpy genre, filmmaking, but along with all of the music that's involved. And I think that, it's a very fun thing to do. I mean, there's all this talk of Nepo baby stuff, which I don't really care about that.
Man, please.
I don't care about that at all. But, if your dad is M. Night Shyamalan, please make me a movie.
Oh, my God. If you have a child and you're doing well in some sort of entertainment and you're not giving them the ability to jump and do that, you're doing it wrong. Like if my son is acting and I'm a well-known director, you damn right I'm going to wrap something around my son or daughter. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what a parent does. And I'm not even a parent, so that's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was wondering, have you guys thought of any other movies like that, like music films that are like showcases for artists, anything like that?
I can't think of any.
Yeah.
On the list?
Well, just in general,
In general?
Yeah, because I don't know. That was the first one that I thought of, but I know there's got to be other movies like that.
I mean, I can think of a lot of movies that are musical, but I can't really think of something. I mean, I'm sure it's out there where someone wrapped it around to showcase someone's
Maybe
talent.
once the
Oh yeah, the TV show
John,
from
the John Carney,
the John
movie.
Carney, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe once we could throw that as an extra piece in there or something. But maybe when we open it to the floor in a little bit, we'll see if anybody else has any. But Kevin, let's go to another one.
So I mean, you touched on Hitchcock. Hitchcock is top 3 filmmakers, directors in my life. So I'm going to automatically say Psycho, just from that last scene. Again, spoilers, but when he's walking toward in the silhouette, and what he sees, I'm like, my God! Like M. Night just give Hitchcock a little writing credit at that point. But you can tell he is inspired, and it's a good thing because I think Hitchcock's work kind of goes forever. And it deserves to be modernized in its own way, interpreted in its own way from a different perspective. So when I saw that, I was like, this was written with the ghost of Hitchcock like on his shoulder. And it's a good thing. I mean, you can see where he's trying to go away from the twist guy. And again, it goes back to like when you break in, you do what is asked of you to get the opportunity to do what you want. So if you keep becoming the twist guy and you've made enough money for people, suddenly they're like, you know what? Let's see what you can do on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Well, and like when I started this conversation, I wanted to kind of figure out where you guys are at on recent Shyamalan, because the last 2 movies really did not have twists. Old and Knock at the Cabin. Neither of them had twists. I mean, you could kind of point to certain moments that are like kind of twisty, but more in a traditional way, not in the M. Night Shyamalan twist. Yeah. So like he's definitely left that behind, and he's just doing fun, interesting genre films now at this point. So it's just fun to see, I think. But Luella, let's go to another one from you.
Okay, so I'm still on this concert, right? Now, the part where she brings out Riley, the dreamer girl, it totally reminded me of Teen Witch.
Wow. Deep. That's deep cut.
Right,
I like
deep
that.
cuts, for sure.
That was great.
I don't think anybody expected that one.
No.
You got to squeeze that in. I love it. I love it. Dustin, let's go to another one over there.
I got another visual one. I kept seeing the specific use of the colors blue, white, and red. I'm a huge fan of Krzysztof Kieslowski's, his 3 colors, blue, white, and red. And I thought it was kind of interesting that I don't know if I was looking for it in that pattern, but I almost seemed to notice it like blue and then white and then red and then blue and then white and then red. So that was kind of a trip.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't that something that he's been doing? Like, I think Sixth Sense does that. I think Unbreakable does that.
He's huge when it comes to color. And that's the other thing that I think, while being the twist guy, people, I feel like, forget that he is, he watches movies.
Great use of color. The Village.
Village. Like, he is a filmmaker in the regard of, the color correction. What storytelling. So I think as a whole, massively for everybody, he's like, oh, he's a twist guy. You're waiting for it. But truthfully, if you look at it from a perspective of, man, that means a little bit more because of this color and how important this coloring is and how important this shot is. I feel like people forget that he's a pretty good filmmaker. He knows what he's doing. The twist is just what got him in the door. Now let him do his thing.
Yeah, and I think that my biggest criticism of this movie that we just watched is that during the concert sequences, he never really lets loose. He never really shows off. He's got a great cinematographer. I forget his name, but he just did like Call Me by Your Name and like a bunch. But he doesn't really do that much exciting stuff at the concert. But then that last 30 minutes, once it gets all Hitchcock on us, like that's when he really starts letting loose and having fun with it. So yeah, he has such a history though of just incredible shots. I remember there was some stuff in Old that I was just like,
a lot of the stuff in Old was. Yeah, I would think like from if he's doing the shot list on that might have been my favorite that he's done. It did feel like in this movie, it felt like there were times, especially in the early goings, where is it lack of creativity or a lack of time? Sometimes it's like production wise, you look at it and go, all right, they're getting as much as they can for all these people in this one spot. It's probably costing them a lot of money. So you can't get too nutty when you have X amount of days.
I saw an interview with him where he said he didn't want the camera to ever get closer than their seats are to the concert, because this way you would kind of be in their seats and like how close they've managed to get.
Exactly.
So
And
I think that's kind of
well.
cool.
Yeah, it plays really well.
Let's go through one more round of puzzle pieces, then we'll open it to the floor. I really wanted to bring up a movie called Grand Piano. This is it was Damien Chazelle's first script, although he didn't direct it. Elijah Wood is in it. It's about a pianist at a concert who notices on his sheet music that there's a threat that this guy is gonna basically open fire if he messes up the piano concert. And it's an incredibly tense thriller, very different where things go from this. It doesn't get as crazy as this. It does not have a silly Josh Hartnett psychopath in it, but it is a really good movie though. And I just wanted to bring it up because of the idea of this concert that is like set up as this place where violence could go down at any moment, and plays with the tension of not being able to get out of that concert because this piano player, if he stops, people are going to die. If he messes up, people are going to die, and he has to just keep playing. And it's a wild movie, and one of my favorite movies I've watched in the last few years. So big recommend. I feel like not enough people watched it.
I would say Dexter. And I would say the first season of Dexter, only because it was basically, to me, took every episode of Dexter and just kind of put it in like one little bite. And, you know, I feel like that was the inspiration to be, or opposite of what Josh Hartnett wanted to be, because, you know, Dexter as a character is a little bit more reserved. And you could tell that Josh Hartnett was trying to come off in a he's playing a father, but he is a father. But he's playing a father. Like, you know, I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. So he's like, so he's doing all these things, and he's coming off as, oh, he's a corny dad. But he's pretending to be a corny dad because this isn't who he really is. He's hiding that monster. But some of the dialogue was super similar to when Dexter was really, really good before it kind of fizzled away. And now they're just kind of melding it a little bit. But that was the first thing I thought of. It was like if they took all of the Dexter stuff and took some of the explanation or exposition rather out of it and got straight to it with, you know, more jump scary type things in regards of how the intensity is, that would be Dexter. That would be my piece.
Right on. How about you, Luella?
Well, Dexter definitely crossed my mind too, and I thought the same thing as you, where it was like he was very, God, I can't even think of the word, but yeah, like reserved, like you said. He wasn't as emotional,
Deadpan almost.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, but yes, I agree with that for sure. So my other thing was when Haley Mills was revealed. I was so excited to see her. I was like, the OG of Disney, Parent Trap, Pollyanna. I'm like Miss Bliss. I was so excited to see her, but I felt like they were trying to make it like Silence of the Lambs. But she was giving me like Hunger Games. Like, it just felt like a miscast or something for me anyway. I don't know how anybody else felt about her role in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and this speaks to his last couple movies again, he's just going big with all these movies, and her performance, I think he probably asked her, like, just go big. Like, maybe even said Hunger Games at some point, you know? Just go big. Like, this is a big... crazy spectacle. Just go for it. Just do the whole thing.
Like match the energy of where you're at type of thing. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but let's go to Dustin one more.
My next one is it's just a small little moment, and it's a little on the nose, but he has a definite callback to Signs with the emotional eating at the end.
Oh yeah.
There was an interview Mel Gibson did once where he said that scene at the end of Signs where he has to eat emotionally was one of the hardest things he's ever had to do as an actor. And then I just thought it was funny that they definitely threw back to that, having Josh Hartnett have the emotional eating scene at the end.
That's interesting. Yeah, I thought you were actually going to go with the bathroom door being like the pantry door in that scene, but that's actually a really good callback too.
Honestly, the way they had it set up and how it all went down and how many times they had to take him down, to throw in a half of a puzzle piece, if you don't mind, is when we talk about Split and Glass, they gave him a real superhero-ish kind of way of going down.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was not as easy as they thought it was going to be. So it makes you think that they did all this and how bad it would have been in that arena during the show. So it took a couple of shots, and that's the thing. It's like I feel like there's always going to be bits and pieces of the DNA that got him where he was. So, talking about Signs and Glass and Split, those are successful things that will at least invoke the thought process of, I remember that. Now I know why I like this. And that kind of grows with the movie itself. At least I think so.
Really
Absolutely.
quick, I do want to say, that whole him being in two places at once always did give that Mike Myers Scream feel.
Yeah.
Like, this movie was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
It
especially in the
zigzags.
ending, like when he just keeps breaking out of things, like,
Yeah.
And then
over
too,
and over.
and then like you said, the psycho piece for sure, and then that was revealed at the end, and that's why I was like, for me, it made it full circle when I kept seeing him as Anthony Perkins, because I'm like, why am I feeling this so hard? I couldn't pinpoint it until the very end when they finally revealed that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So for me, I don't mean to poke holes in the story at all, but one thing I'll say is this guy's wife thinks he's a serial killer. She
My wife said the same.
so
I know
she
what you're
she
doing.
calls the police and tells them to look into it, and instead of going to their house and following them around, they set up a multi-million-dollar like a sting operation.
Like-
Just like, why wouldn't you do that?
My wife
obviously you
literally
wouldn't-
said the
you
same
wouldn't go to
thing.
his house and like follow him around. You would set up this crazy thing because he had a ticket.
Yeah, like, why? This is what he looks like.
Right. Yeah. It was a little.
And scene. See you guys. Roll
Right.
credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't make us a good of a movie, I'm sure, but
the movie has to
I
happen.
was like,
yeah,
"What?"
exactly. Well, let's open it up to the floor, see if we got any puzzle pieces. And we do have some posters to give away for anybody who comes up with something. So do we have any puzzle pieces in the crowd? Anybody out there got anything? Anybody good? We got right over here.
I don't know why they cast Haley Mills, but she is a legend in the acting business. She comes from a famous English dynasty of actors. John Mills, nobody knows, but that's her father. He's been dead forever. But she hasn't been in a movie in a very, very long time, and she's got to be 80 now. So I was just delighted, because I remember her in the Disney movies. But she was phenomenal in this role. I really loved it. I'm not sure there's a puzzle piece, but
Well, I mean, I just genuinely think he cast her because they were trying to trap a parent in this movie, and so it's the Parent Trap. So, there you-
You're like, there goes someone's puzzle piece.
let's see. Do we have any? We got one right up here.
This one's kind of improbable, but my mind kept going to Jason Bourne, MacGyver, Jack Reacher, like espionage, thriller kind of stuff. In the segment in the concert venue, whenever, the butcher is trying to be resourceful and clever on the fly in these, high pressure situations. And I kind of wish they would have done more of that, but, it kind of got more and more outlandish as he becomes kind of more of an escape artist. But I thought there was, definitely some parallels to some of those classics where, you're about to get caught and, you have to find your way out and, you steal an ID or impersonate somebody or, rig up a distraction really quickly. So I thought that was
Absolutely.
kind of
He did go serial killer MacGyver at one
Right,
point.
yeah.
Like,
Serial
think-
killer
there were
MacGyver.
serial killer MacGyver. I'm like, this, like, I think the grease fire was like, okay, that was actually really innovative. Like, you might be in the right/wrong line of work because you created a lot of distractions really quick.
I wish he found ways to work Jamie in more. The guy who was selling the shirts.
Yeah.
Because that guy is great. I think
Great
he's kind
comic
of
relief.
he's like the star of the show. And if he had found ways to just be like, hey Jamie, I need your help with something over here, and like turns into another one of those MacGyver-y bits. So
That was a fun character.
yeah, he was great.
And it was needed too.
I feel like Josh Hartnett's character was half MacGyver and half Pepe Le Pew.
Nice.
You know what I mean? It's like every time they turn around, he's like, he's already ahead of you.
Yeah,
But he's just
absolutely.
strolling.
Love it. Any other puzzle pieces out in the crowd? We got one right up here.
Back to.
So on the trap the people with the as portrayed in a fictional piece, I thought of the otherwise forgettable last season of Party Down.
Oh,
I love that show.
So good.
oh, that's good.
But they did a thing where they were saying that they were giving away tickets to go see Sting. They were just having fun with it because it was like, get it? It's a Sting with Sting, and we're the police.
Oh,
So
man.
That
it's
is so
very, and they were all doing mushrooms. It was
That's
very,
pretty
very
good.
episode, but that was kind of fun to
I like
use
that.
that whole Sting to bring them all in.
I
But
love the Party Down.
actual piece that I was thinking of, just in the sort of anxiety of the concert setting and all the kind of things happen, and totally unrelated, but I was thinking Snake Eyes.
That actually came to my mind too.
Me too. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years. That's why I didn't bring it up.
But I do remember like all the surveillance and like they're trying to figure out what was going on. Very different direction, but yeah, just had a little snake eye in me.
Love it. Glad you brought that up. Yeah, obviously, two of us are already thinking of that one. It's a great one to bring up. Any other puzzle pieces out in the crowd? Anybody else got one? Well, I think if not, then we'll get into some closing thoughts here. Let's start with you, Kevin.
I liked it. I'll say that if anyone sees it, obviously don't come in there with the thought process that this is going to be, twist M. Night Shyamalan. But I did enjoy it. I think I enjoyed the performances more than the actual plot. Like it was, again, I'm a big fan of Josh Hartnett. I like what he's doing. So he kind of has picked the right things from like Oppenheimer on to come back into. Again, big Alison Pill fan. So I know she's been sporadic, and she's been fantastic. So I think I was a big fan of the performance. The story itself, probably on paper, is pretty good. I think it could have been executed a little differently. At least, I think I would have done it a little differently. Definitely. But I think it's a good film. I think it's going along where he is going. He's going away from I'm here for shock value. Now I'm like, let me show you some cool ideas when given a budget that I don't have to squeeze everything into.
And let me show you my daughter.
And let me showcase my daughter both as a director and a singer.
Yes.
And see what you like. So I like that. I like where it was going. I like where he's going. But I'm okay. I was okay with the movie. It was right about where I expected, plus or minus the twist that I also expected at one point.
Fair enough. How about you, Luella?
I didn't know what to expect because I think I looked at the trailer, but I don't even remember what was in it, or I had no idea what I was walking into. I just knew it was M. Night Shyamalan, and I watched The Watchers just recently, and I'm like, and I did see Knock at the Cabin, and I did see Old, but I don't, for whatever reason, I just already had disassociated those things, and so I really for me, it was entertaining enough. If I were just picking something that I was just wanted to stream a movie, it was cool. But I think you really need to just drop any of those M. Night Shyamalan expectations for sure.
Right, and that's exactly the thing. I feel like he is just in this moment of I want to have fun, I want to entertain, I want to just come up with a fun concept and just go for it. And I think that's what he's doing. But yeah, absolutely. How about you, Dustin?
Well, I hate to end it on a negative note, but for me, I'd say the biggest problem I had was it needed a dialogue pass. And that would be most of M. Night's movies for the last 15, 20 years. It's like he writes his dialogue the first thing that he came into his head. And he never goes back over it and goes could I come up with something better? Because that's how you do dialogue, But it was a good movie. It was like Kevin said, it was right about where I expected. Yeah. But good God, M. Night, please.
That is something that
hire somebody to fix your dialogue.
You were sitting next to me, and my wife just sits there, and when I hear dialogue, and I'll go, oh my God, yeah. And it's just there's a level of corny that you can take, and I gotta verbalize. So
this
you can
one
tell
overshot it.
Yeah, you can tell exactly that. He writes it. He's like, well, that's good, and no one says otherwise because he's M. Night. And then they come and he put it on the film, and I go,
that fell a little flat.
I want you to give me an example of what you're speaking of.
Let's say he says, I wish I could remember.
I got a couple.
It was definitely a lot of Josh Hartnett's dialogue.
Most of the stuff in which he was explaining how he spoke to his daughter, for example, when they were going hey, why don't we go down there in that dark area? He said it in a way that made me feel like it was howdy doody.
Like he was trying to kidnap his own daughter or something?
But then it goes to your point of him trying
He's portraying.
He's doing what he thinks.
So that's the problem. That's why
normal.
And that's the problem.
But there was even some of that at the end. After he's broken that and he's full on serial killer, he's talking, even some of those lines were pretty bad. Towards the end, I can't remember what he said. He said something to his wife when they were in the kitchen together, and I was just
oh, wait,
damn.
When he said the 5 bites? And I knew that was going to be the countdown.
There it is.
Automatically, I was like, there's a countdown.
And I
I'll eat
love
this
that
in
because
5
it's such
bites.
like a red herring, and it's like you know it's coming, and it's. I just think that's fun. I think that's fun thriller filmmaking.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just like, I guess if you've seen enough of his stuff, you come to expect it, and then you're like, you don't have to do that all the time, do you? Like
It's like not even English; it's movie language.
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know,
like, I could do this in 5 bites. Oh my God, help me, Jesus! Like that's. But I liked it, but it was like, I've seen you do it so many times.
I
was
wanted
like,
to like it, is what it was.
Yeah,
You know what
I
mean?
think that's what it is.
I love M. Night. I wanted to like every line of the movie, but
Yeah, well,
Just
you
needed
guys
a
are
dialogue.
definitely not alone. I think most of the complaints I've seen about this movie are dialogue and plot hole related, and I don't know, it didn't really bother me. But the closing thought I wanted to mention, we've got Smile 2 coming out in a month, which also takes place with a pop star at a concert. I guess
You know how that's gonna. You know how it starts. It starts with one movie, then spreads to 4. Because think about it. If you really think from a production standpoint, if you do something and 50% of it is in one location, put it on the producer hat. That saves a lot of money. But if you can find the ability to make it interesting and then put it on the big screen, people are gonna run with that. So like you said, Smile and this movie, I guarantee before the middle of the year you'll see at least 6 or 7. And it gives it kind of an indie feel. Because I always feel like M. Night is not exactly a major studio guy, but he has studio money while having indie ideas and keeping it in that way. That's why he used to do the twists and managing these locations. So that's my main thing that I like about him. Because I still think he writes as an indie guy.
Yeah,
he
does.
just happens to have a studio backing or at least money that's like, you know what? This may not work, but I trust you because you haven't missed too many times.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I think that's what he's an indie guy with studio money.
Yeah, that's basically M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, and that's
it's a great place to be.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Kevin, what do you want to plug? Where can people find you?
Okay, so you can find me at codename_Leon on Instagram and Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I have a short film that's making a very, very successful run through festivals, 7 of 9 festivals, called You Should Smile More. It'll be released on September 30th, barring any changes. And other than that, you can also, and I have an analog photography book coming out also on September 30th called, it's about classic cars on 35 millimeter film. I've been working on it for 3 states in 4 years. So It's a lot of material called, was it Classically Modern or Keeping Classically Modern? I'm rambling right now. So, but yeah, look out for that as well.
All good. And yeah, congratulations on that coming out. That's awesome. How about you, Luella?
I'm at Luella.Chavez on Instagram and at Luella Chavez 365 on YouTube, I believe.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. 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 I don't even know. I didn't even know that was really my handle on YouTube until not too long ago.
Nice.
But yeah, so I'm going to be picking back up my series Bitches Be Crazy.
Nice. Love the title.
Thank you. And I randomly do song parodies and other types of sketches. So you'll just, whenever I am inspired or have free time.
You should do a
with my friend
Saleka
jobs.
song and then have like a psycho killer killing somebody while you're singing. That'd be fun. Dustin, how about you?
Dustin Ross on Facebook, on Instagram, DMRoss83. I have my first 2 short films coming out this year, one on Halloween, one on Christmas. The Halloween release is called Beck and Call, and the Christmas release is The Lonely Roads. You can find both of those on either Facebook or Instagram. And like I said, just getting started, very honored and happy to be a part of this panel and part of this filmmaking community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing the show for the first time. I want to let all of you know we will be up at Maya Cinemas on August 15th for Alien Romulus, and then back over there on September 5th for Beetlejuice. And we'll be back here at Downtown Cinemas soon, too. We'll be announcing that very shortly. But thank you all, everybody, so much for being here.
Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and the lot. Come on down to Wax Tracks, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Trap. Thank you so much to Downtown Cinemas for having us out. Thank you to Luella Chavez, Kevin Martin, and Dustin Ross for joining me on the episode. And thanks so much to everyone who showed up at the show. These turnouts have just been getting better and better, and I just want to keep doing these live shows. And so if you people keep coming out to them, we will be able to keep doing them. So thank you so much for showing up. For everyone listening at home, thank you so much for being out there and listening. I just mentioned on the recent trailers episode that we had just an amazing month in July. So many new listeners. And so I'm just, really excited to have people out there listening to this show. If you are enjoying piecing it together, of course, make sure you're subscribed. Maybe drop us a little 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Good Pods, wherever it is that you're listening. And also, I'd love to hear from you. I always love hearing puzzle pieces from the listeners. If you have anything that you thought of for this episode or one of the other episodes we've done recently that we didn't bring up and you want to mention, please send them in. I'll read them on the next trailers episode, and I just really love hearing from you all. So you can do that, of course, on social media at Piecing Pod and our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, or contact me on the website, piecingpod.com. There is a link to email me. You can also get in touch if you ever want to be on an episode of Piecing It Together. I'd love to have you. So with that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And if this movie is a way for M. Night Shyamalan to sneakily introduce his daughter's music to us all, I could do that too with this episode and play a song from the Pup Pups, my album of songs about, and in some cases sung by, my cats and dog. God, that's so ridiculous. I'm going to play a song from the Pup Pups, which I'm actually currently hard at work on album number 3. Album number 2 just came out earlier this year. Oh, there they are right now making noise. Album number 2 just came out earlier this year, but already album number 3 is almost done. It'll probably be out before the end of the year. I'm going to play a song from that. Why not? This is a preview. If you've made it this far in the episode, you're one of my best listeners, and so you deserve a preview. So this song's about 90% done at this point. I just have a few little things to fix up, but it's called Litter and Glitter. It's about our cat Trudy. So hope you enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
She sits and stares, looking like a model with a beautiful hair. She's looking at me and nothing more. Sparkles all around her on the floor. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she goes. Oh yes, I love that girl. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.